Hello, everybody. My name is James. Welcome to possibly the most depressing clash of the correspondents in history. The patrons have billed it as they've never been looking forward to a COTC as much as this one, because I think they just enjoy seeing people in pain, unfortunately. Let me firstly introduce you to our Everton correspondent, Sean Norton. How are you, Sean?
Hi, I'm all right, James.
And our Southampton correspondent, Matt Samuel. How are you, Matt?
Yeah, personally, I'm all right, but that's about it.
Right, guys, I'm going to give you a heads up here. We're going to do about 60 seconds on FPL at the end. There's not going to be a lot of FPL on this one because there's not a huge amount to talk about. Obviously, Everton and Saints face each other in game week 20, and it already feels like a massive 6-pointer. Is that correct, Sean?
Yeah, without doubt. I think it's the only game that I think looks winnable for quite some time for us. So if we don't win this, we may as well just wrap up.
Is that how it feels for you, Matt? Is it that big already?
Oh, massive. I mean, I thought Forest was the winnable game, and we saw what happened there. So God knows what's going to happen. We get a Goodison.
I mean, your fixture list looks a bit better than Sean's up and coming, but are we past thinking about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. That will please the Che Adams owners that are listening. We should timestamp this, I think, that it is Monday afternoon, just in case, because I don't know. I feel like either one of you could lose your manager at any minute. And we'll come back onto the ownership stuff. But Sean, Frank Lampard, is it time up for you personally, or would you like to see him get more time?
Well, I think it's got to be time up because there's just not enough progress being made. The signings have been proved to be pretty poor, other than obviously Connor Cody and James Tarkowski. They were decent signings. They've done all right. We're pretty horrific against Brighton, but in the main they've been good for us. But the rest of them just haven't added anything different to what we already had. We had a chat in the summer. We weren't expecting much from Mopey and McNeil. We thought they were odd signings, and so they've proved to be. So, I don't see that he's had no input in those signings. I don't get the impression that Felwell's gone out on his own and signed them for him. So he's had input, and they've just not made any impact whatsoever. And now you'd think that they'd be the players that we need once we sold Richarlison to add the goals that we needed to replace. It's all just so strange. And being honest, the only thing I think we're really better at is defending set pieces. He hasn't really improved us in any other way in his time at the club.
And it felt like there was a period. I'll reflect on the Palace victory. The 3-0 victory against Palace a little while ago. And we spoke to you around then, and the football style. I mean, you scored one absolute brilliant goal in that game. You'd started this season very briefly having the best defensive record in the league as well. Just feels like over the last 10 or so, it's just gone to pot again. 5 points in the last 10.
Yeah. And, I said to you because we'd done the Clash of the Correspondents ahead of the Leicester game. And I said, we had some half-decent fixtures coming up, and it was all going to be about, well, when do we get that next win? Because while Frank's been the manager, the wins tend to be few and far between, and so it's proved. And we've gone on, another run similar to what we did this time last year under Benitez, where we only won one game in months and months, and then we only got 15 points. We're nearly halfway through the season, so that's less than we had at the same stage last year. We haven't got Richarlison to help dig us out. Can't see anybody of any note coming in January. So it's all very grim. I mean,
is that how it feels? I know when you're in a really bad moment, it always feels like you're at your worst moment now. But does it actually feel worse than this time last year?
Yeah, it does. And it felt pretty bad last year. I never thought it could feel worse, but yeah, I'm afraid it does.
You picked up 35 points from 38 games in 2022. I think we know that would leave you right on the brink. That's a whole football season. That doesn't include the recent defeat to Brighton. So it's 35 points from the last 39. Matt, how do you see Everton in the first instance? Do you see them in your position thinking we can leapfrog them?
I think it's tricky. I think they're in a very similar position to we're in, and probably two of the worst teams in the league at the moment. And you wouldn't be wrong in saying that we're probably at current form, what's going on behind the scenes and on the pitch, we probably both deserve to go down at the moment.
And talk to us about your team, Max. Nathan Jones has not been in charge for long, but I understand most Southampton fans would probably remove him already. That seems a bit harsh.
No. If he hadn't been given the period over the World Cup, and obviously that is it's a story for, it's a completely different season, but he was given 6 weeks with the team. Obviously he had the Liverpool game as a freebie. We only had 2 players go to the World Cup. He's got the full squad and we've regressed. I've never seen a team come out after a break so poorly. They look completely devoid of any guidance. They don't seem to know what they're doing. I think against Forest we recorded 75 long balls for the game. And I mean, if he's coming out and saying, I want to play an aggressive style of football, well, you can get Premier League footballers to buy into the idea that long ball football is the way to get us out of a relegation scrap. I've no idea. But I mean, the fans are obviously, and I was one of them, calling for Ralph. It was the end of time, but the appointment of Jones was questionable at the time, and I didn't think it could get worse, but it has.
It was very clear audibles at Crystal Palace at the Cup in the weekend, when it's worth saying you did win. Nathan Jones, your football is shit.
Yep.
Everybody's probably heard that now. I mean, is it that obvious? I can't say I've seen any of your games under Jones in its entirety. Why is it so much worse? Is it just that exactly what you're saying, that you've just gone direct and don't have the personnel to do it?
Yeah, he keeps switching between a back 3 and a back 4. Doesn't seem to know how he wants to play in terms of personnel. He's switching. So obviously, like one game we'll see El Yanusi come in, the next it's Gineppo. He'll give a doozy a game and then he'll take him off and won't start him the next. Poor Che. I've got a feel for Che. You know, he's effectively the lone striker in any formation that Jones is playing, and he's being asked to win knock-ons, but no one's running onto them. We don't seem to have a style of play, and Jones keeps coming out in press conferences saying, I just haven't had the time to implement it. Well, I'm sorry, but your time was during that 4 weeks of the World Cup. You can't then come out in these 4 games prior or beyond that and still not know how to get the best out of this team. And even the Palace win, as you say, I mean, we were gifted 2 goals. We should have been 3-0 down comfortably before Prowsey scored his free kick.
Yeah, I think it's that, isn't it, that's affected it. It's not the fact that he's 5-6 games into his tenure. It's the fact that he had almost his grace of, he basically had a pre-season, which managers who obviously come into a football club mid-season don't get. He basically had it, and you're saying it's gone backwards. Yeah. So, I mean, it sounds like you'd change it now and sack him. Would that be right?
Yeah, but I don't think the ownership will. We've heard very little from Sport Republic anyway. I think it was Adam Blackmore, who's one of the reporters for Radio Solent. He says for the last 12 months, he's been trying to get an interview with them and they've refused. We don't seem to hear anything. And I think from what I've read through The Athletic, you know, it's very unlikely that they will sack him, because that'll mean that they have to accept responsibility. And I think from what I've heard, Rasmus Ankerson probably wouldn't be the type of person that wants to take that on his shoulders. So that's my biggest concern. And I think the only way for us to survive is to bring someone in that knows the shit that we're in and can get us out at least for a season.
What does that look like for you? Like, if they sack him tomorrow, what do you want?
Right now, I suppose even someone's like Dyke, you know, for half a season, I don't know if he'd take it, but at least he's got experience in terms of a relegation fight, and he'll have a specific style of play where it might not be the best style of football, but at least he knows how to get results. Whereas,
isn't that what you're doing now, though, going a bit more direct and stuff? That's what would happen under Sean Dyche, isn't it?
Well, it is, but I think when you're asking Che Adams to win a ball and then no one is within 30, 40 yards of him, what's he expected to do? Whereas I'd at least hope that the team would be set up to play a direct style of football, whereas at the moment we're not set up in that way. but we're still doing it. So you've got Salisu pinging a ball from, centre back. Adams is up there knocking it down, and no one's there.
Your record over 2022 is worse than Everton's.
Yeah. What was it 90th out of 92 teams in the Football League?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. 8 wins from your last 37 Premier League games, which is particularly extraordinary when I think back to watching the Southampton team that completely dominated my team at White Hart Lane in January, and then 3 days later picked up a thoroughly deserved draw at Old Trafford as well. So it's actually even worse if we break it down from sort of February onwards. How has it got to this point? Is the club at kind of a crisis point in the sense that it just doesn't see the next Premier League victory basically right now?
Yeah, we can't see it as a fan base. The Forest game was the worst game I've sat and watched at St Mary's, I think, in the whole time I've been going.
Did they deserve to beat you?
Forest, yeah. I mean, it was a bad team playing an even worse team, but they deserved to beat us. We didn't have a single shot on target.
Okay. Sean, how do you see Southampton?
I was surprised that Hassan Holt ended up having to go, to be honest, because I thought for large spells he seemed to do a really good job, and every time they looked like they were going to kick on, they then suddenly regress. And I was quite shocked. I'll be honest. I thought he was going to prove to be a really good manager for them, and I didn't see them being involved in the bottom 3 this season. But this league now is really, really, really difficult. I mean, I spoke to you about being like a sort of bottom 7 clubs, and even that hasn't come to pass this season because Brentford have kicked on even further, despite not having Eriksen. So I think now the bottom 3, it's us, it's Southampton, it's Forest. There's not Bournemouth. There's not. I don't think anyone else is involved outside of that. Really, don't. It's so difficult. And Southampton, I just think are fighting now for. There's one place for survival between us. I think it's a set. Southampton or Everton are going to go. Bournemouth and Forest are in the mix. I don't see anyone else being involved at all because I just don't think the team, us 4, can win enough games to drag other teams into it. And Forest are going about their business really, really well at the minute. Steve Cooper seems to have, between all 4 of us, he seems to have got their act together really well and gone, how we were playing was only going to get us relegated. So we need to try something different to give us a chance. And I've watched them about 3 times lately, and every time I've watched them, I've been really impressed with them, and they're giving themselves a really good chance of staying up, and I think they probably will.
Matt, how many teams involved in this fight to stay up for you then?
4.
So is it the same 4?
Exactly as Sean says, yeah.
So you'd feel the same, that one of you is going to go at least?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't see any others.
So you think Bournemouth, Forest involved, not Leeds?
I think they've got enough in there to get themselves out of it.
Sean's nodding. Sean, what about Wolves?
No, I think Wolves will just kick on now and rise up the table. Now they've got a really experienced manager. They brought the lad in up front from Atletico Madrid. They've got players back from injury. They've got themselves some options now up front. They are too good a team. They play really good football, especially the lads in the middle of the park. Neves is a wonderful, wonderful player. I can't see Wolves being anywhere near it.
Such as West Ham, Matt. I mean, they're right in the shit at the moment.
They are, yeah. But again, I mean, they've got the players that far outweigh what we've got. They should be able to get themselves out of it.
Leicester, Sean, you don't see? They're good for conceding goals and stuff.
No, again, Maddison's been out, I think, the last few weeks. I think when Maddison comes back, I think they'll be fine. Leicester, I don't see them being bad. It's like you can have a bad season and be down the lower half of the table, but you've got to be pretty bad to rack up less than 40 points. I don't see Leicester struggling to the extent that we all are. I mean, I think all of us are on for probably, I think we'll be lucky to get over 30 points, to be honest, the way we're going.
I look at Forest, I look at their next three, Leicester at home, Bournemouth away, Leeds at home. I think they could win all of them.
Yeah,
and they're 15th at the moment. They could pull away in the next few or so. You still got fixtures, Matt, where I think in a weird way, it almost feels like the pressure's greater on you, because I think sort of like Everton away, Villa at home, Brentford away, and then Wolves at home.
Yeah.
As a group of 4 fixtures, that's a decent run of fixtures where you're going to be hoping to get points. Whereas Sean probably, after this weekend, is looking at going West Ham away, don't fancy it. Arsenal at home, don't fancy it. Liverpool away, don't fancy it. And then getting cut adrift. With Everton's run of fixtures, what Forest have got and what you've got, Everton could be sitting here in a month's time thinking, we're done. Is that how you see it, Sean?
Yeah. Yeah. I did say this in the summer. I did say if we didn't sign the necessary sort of players up front, that I could see us comfortably going down. And it's just gone, sadly. I feared it would. If they had a clue what they were doing and they were proactive enough, they'd have had players come in already. Like, many other teams have brought players in already. So they're making the same mistake that they made in the summer when they left it. They let the season start. We never had anybody to replace Calvert-Lewin, who was injured. I think it was the 7th game of the season before we won, when we beat West Ham. And we'd only just brought the likes of Annan, Mopay and McNeil in shortly before them. And they've just gone on, it cost us massively. You can't give the Premier League 6 games head start on you when you're as bad as we are. And they've just repeated the same mistake for me. So our most, attractive fixtures are the 2 coming up, because both teams are struggling and we've got no new faces coming in. And Iwobi's now out for 3 weeks, so he's going to miss both games. And he's the only player in the Everton squad who's got more than 1 assist in the whole season. He's got 5, and he's not available. So, a team that was already struggling to score goals is only going to struggle even more.
Who's this? And I guess this is a fairly endless question, Sean. Who's to blame for where Everton are right now?
Oh, the owner. There's no question about that.
Moshiri.
Yeah, we've had a shadow of a doubt. I mean, if you're going to come in and spend the sort of money he's gonna spend, then what's happened is just not acceptable. And he's, the only people he holds account are the managers and the directors of football, but ultimately he ratifies all their appointments. It's not like Bill Kenwright has, the sort of final say. It is Moshiri. Everything always has to go to him to get approval. So he should have been just refusing to sign some of these players and sanction the deals, and he should have been holding members of the board to account. And he's not. He's just disappeared. We never hear from him anymore. It doesn't seem interested. He doesn't go to games. There's no communication with the fans. It's the buck stops with him for me.
I think it's a little bit complicated in the sense that Everton fans obviously want him to go. They get that. We all hear the protests and stuff. But currently, he's presumably a part of building a new stadium.
Yeah, well, he's paying for it
at the moment. But he's not going to go while that's going up, surely.
No, he's not. He's not. But he can't. He can sell. He can sell the club, can't he? You know what I mean? It's like it's all about price, and he wants far too much money for it. He doesn't seem to appreciate just how much of a cock up of it he's made. And I don't get how a man that can make so much money can just be so stupid. I mean, if we go down, we go in the Championship, well then his asset is worth so much less. So you'd think he'd be doing everything he can to keep Everton in the Premier League.
But I guess in terms of if someone wanted to buy the football club, and there were links with a group with Peter Kenyon and a few others last summer. Similarly, why would someone want to buy the football club now, knowing that you're basically tied with your hands behind your back in terms of you can't go and spend 100 million in this transfer window? because of previous failings in the transfer market. There are restrictions in terms of what you can do. The only way you could do that is probably if you sold Calvert-Lewin and Jordan Pickford right now. It is probably the only way you could go about re-energizing that squad. That's clearly not going to happen. So no one's going to buy the football club at the moment either, surely.
Well, no, I think, not now. In the summer, there was interested people. I think now they'll just wait and see, see what happens. Because like I say, if at the minute we're in the Premier League, in a few months' time, we might not be. And then you drive the price right down then, don't you? Because Moshiri's going to be desperate to sell it, I would imagine then. But he's just in a no-win. He's in a no-win situation from what I can see, and it's just that it's a total head scratcher. Why he's happy to let 7 or 8 managers, come and go, and we're on a fair director of football, but he hasn't sacked anyone on the board. I just don't get it.
Wasn't Marcel Brands part of that? No.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. To be fair, he was. They did make him a board member, but he didn't really seem to. Again, once he got put on the board, again, you just never heard from him. The signings were always still. No one was really sure. It was almost as if Marcel would buy a player, the manager would buy a player, Farhad had, through agents would buy another one, and it just seems to be just as much of a mess now as it's ever been. And McNeil and Maupay just, sum it all up to me that it's still shit. It still doesn't make any sense. You can't tell me that there isn't a reasonably big, tall, strong centre forward in world football that Everton could have got to play, back up to Dom or pushed on for his place, because these players do exist. They are out there, but we go and buy someone who's completely nothing like Calvert-Lewin, and it's bit us on the arse, and it was always Gonu.
It was a bad fit. Che Adams was the name I'd mentioned a lot for you last summer, was getting mentioned. I think would have been a far better fit actually in terms of his work rate and movement off the ball. Sean, as mentioned, this stadium's obviously going up quite quickly at Bramley Moor.
Yeah.
Is there any danger if you go down that it stops?
No, because he's paying for it, so it's going to get finished. It's like I say, Moshiri's just landed himself with a massive issue. He's paying for it all. There's no one else is paying for any of it. He's paying for it all, and then he's gonna try to get funding for it when it's built, which is just, again, it's unheard of. Who does that?
Just elaborate on that.
Well, you don't see. It's just not what people do, is it? You don't normally see owners who just throw their own money at something and then go, well, I'll go and try to get the funding for it later on. Because like I say, now he's in a position where we're highly likely to be in the Championship. So there's not going to be a load of people who want to fund it, not at the price of what it costs to build.
No, but then once the stadium's in place, I think the football club does become a more attractive proposition. You could probably make the case that if Everton were in the Championship, then you're buying it at bottom dollar price. And because of the size of the football club, it would improve, especially once you've got beyond any FFP restrictions, which I think it's fair to say, should you go down, the assets you have got would get completely stripped out of the football.
Yeah, I mean,
club.
there's not many left. There's not many saleable assets there now, and he's put sort of between 500 and 600 million in, and got very, very little back for it. I've highlighted this so many times about the lengthy list of 25 million pound players he signed. And there's about 80% of them we've got nothing back for. They always leave on free transfers or go out on loans until the contracts expire and they go. Michael Keane is the latest one. His contract's up soon. Yerry Mina, his contract's up soon. They're the latest two that cost over 20 million quid and they'll go for nothing. And this is what I mean. His money has just gone down the toilet. And then he's going to want to recover that, this investment. But then you've got a 500 million pound stadium that he's going to want money for. Well, who's going to pay £1 billion for Everton in the Championship? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
No. So, I mean, if he wants his money back in the longer term, does want to maybe sell the football club, he'd need to get it back up. I'm not sure that's going to happen immediately. I mean, if you look at that list of signings that you've had 20 million plus over the last 5-6 years, you are right. Other than Richarlison's actually the only one you'd look at and go, it was success, and obviously the football club made money on him, etc. You mentioned Michael Keane. He's been linked with you, Matt.
Yep.
Would you take
strong
him?
rumours. Yeah, I'd take him.
Is that somehow how bad you are defensively? You can't get in the Everton team.
We take a player that can't get in the Everton squad. No problem.
Do you think would Everton do business with Southampton at the moment, Sean?
I'd say no, but they're that stupid. They probably would.
It would be so typical. Keane would help keep Southampton up at your expense. Would Matt, who's to blame for what's happening at Southampton?
It's a mix of everyone, really. I think we were all back in the route that we took in the summer, obviously with going youth, and we brought in some good prospects, obviously from the likes of Chelsea and City, but it was a gamble, and it's a gamble that currently isn't paying off. I don't think, other than say Lavia, who's obviously played the first 3 games of the season, then was effectively out till Christmas. He's been a huge miss. The fact an 18-year-old is that big of a miss is a concern, whereas the likes of Aduzi, Larios, Bazunu, they have their moments, but for instance, Bazunu shot of confidence, and we don't really have anyone else that can come in that we trust to be better than he is. Aduzi, he has his moments, but he's not a 90-minute a game, every game kind of player at present. And then other guys, the likes of Maitland-Niles, haven't been doing a lot for a number of years, come in, and there's not a lot we really expected from them. And it's been much the same. We didn't bring in the experience I think we needed. So it starts from the summer, really. And then obviously behind the scenes, there were strong things about obviously Hasenhuttl. One of the reasons why he went is there was just a complete disparity between him and the players by the time he finished. Things were getting leaked to the press, and that's never good. And then obviously the appointment from the ownership to bring Jones in, don't understand it myself. So I'd put a lot of it on Sport Republic, because it's difficult not to, and they're not telling us as fans anything. There's been no real communication, which is the big problem. Questions are being asked from the media and they're not being responded to. The players really haven't stepped up. Now that Forest game, no matter what Jones says, at least put some bloody effort in. And none of them did. They looked woeful. No one was putting a challenge in. I think Jones came out at the end of the game and says, the 2 big moments were Che missing that chance, to put us 1-0 up. And then Lianco's error to give them, the 1-0 lead. But it was 90 minutes of football, not 30 seconds. So, the players were woeful. And it's been like that for much of the season, really.
Forest have only scored 2 away goals this season.
Yeah.
One at Everton, one at Southampton.
Yeah, exactly. Walking to the game, there was Forest haven't scored since August. And I went with my brother and I said, look, they're going to score. We'll be the team to give them that goal. And of course we were.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say, though, Matt, that if Romeo Lavia hadn't got injured, you might not be in this position?
Possibly.
Because... So then doesn't that mean that he could, it sounds ridiculous, as you said, 18-year-old boy, but couldn't that therefore give you the lift that will help get you out of this?
It could, but it doesn't solve the defensive problems that are creeping in. And they weren't there under Hasenhuttl. There was at least, I think Siemens, for instance, was having more of a say in terms of the overhaul of our defensive structure. Now that Jones has come in, I'm not sure what Siemens' role is. Sellers' role is, for instance. I think he was on set pieces, defensive structure. Jones has now brought someone in that's specific to set pieces, and I believe I'm not sure if it's factual, but it sounds like he doesn't even have his full coaching badges. So that's a concern. If we've got someone that one of his assistants for the set piece coach. Apparently he doesn't have his full badge. So that's a bit of a worry. But it's just frustrating because defensively, at least there were games where we were losing by the odd goal, but we weren't getting battered. Whereas watching against Forest, they were all over the place, didn't know what they were doing, and that's gone backwards. I don't think Lavia can solve that problem. He can allow Prowse to progress forward, and I mean, it's been his worst season in a long time. That could well be because he's had to play with 3 or 4 different defensive midfielders each time. Never going to help.
70 goals conceded in the Premier League last year. yes, there was a 9-0 in there, but it's still the worst, even if you take it out. Or by Leeds, actually. Leeds conceded more than you, although there was some heavy Marcelo Bielsa beatings, particularly in the opening part of last season. Could the biggest failing, Matt, be of the board that they stick with Jones?
Yep. If we stick with Jones, we're down.
Is it that clear for you already? Is that all Saints fans feel? Or is that just how you feel?
There was, I mean, the atmosphere against Forest is the worst I've heard after such a short tenure. From the moment we started going long and Forest were dominating, it was bad. And then the boos at the end of the game, it was loud and clear. And yet Jones applauded, walked off and said, well, it's not my fault. I've not been here that long. And then some of his comments in the media really isn't helping. There was a poll on Twitter from the Total Saints podcast, I think. And it was 94% of that poll or something said that they'd sack him. Now, I've never seen such a mass amount of Saints fans completely together in terms of the decision this early on.
It's pretty damning, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, I look at both your clubs, you're clearly both in trouble. There's no point lying about it. One thing I always said to you last season, Sean, was I think your home form you'll get enough home results. I think in your case, Matt, what's interesting is I almost feel like you're more likely to put a run together where suddenly you get 7 points in 3 than Everton are. But I don't know if home form is... I could, in theory, you could go the rest of the season not win a home game.
Yeah,
I feel like you're just as likely to get results away from home as at home. Is that fair?
Agreed. Yeah.
Why is that? Is there an atmosphere problem at St Mary's?
There's no real atmosphere at St Mary's. That's the problem. But I think it's because as fans we become disillusioned with what's going on at the club, both on and off the pitch. So it's difficult to back something that we don't necessarily believe in. And then when you can see that it's leaking onto the pitch and even the players are becoming a bit disillusioned and probably worried about the fact that they don't know how to get out of this. It's so clear and obvious that we can't support that. And even I saw some reports saying, the Saints fans were really backing them at Crystal Palace. Well, they weren't. They were singing about, obviously, Nathan Jones, your football is shit. How bad must you be? We're winning away. That's not backing the players. That's just, making your voice heard and ensuring that it's heard over the broadcasters.
6 points at home. I think the thing that struck me as well is you could see empty seats against Forest.
Yeah. Oh, and a lot left at halftime as well.
But that's not going to happen at your place, is it, Sean?
No.
The crowd at Goodison can win them games of football, can't they?
Yeah.
But you don't seem confident that that's going to happen right now.
No, not enough. We won't. The fans pretty much dragged us over the line last year. But no matter what the fans, do, and I'm sure I know that, the sort of coach welcomes and the flares, etc. I'll be back for the game against Southampton because everyone sort of, the people that wanted to believe that, McNeil would be a good signing and Mopé would be a good signing and that Frank had a clue what he was doing, they've sort of reluctantly had to sort of say, well, no, we've cocked it up again, haven't we? And we're firmly in the shit, even more than before, because like I keep saying, there's no Richarlison around, Dom's got injury issues. So the fans will ramp up their efforts now to try to do as much as they can to get behind the team, before it's too late. But I'm not sure what impact it can have because, you can get behind them and spur them on a little bit and stuff, and get a bit more out of them. But ultimately, you've got to have someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. And Richie popped up at key times. I sort of said to you when you'd signed him in the summer, he's far better than people give him credit for. He's a clutch player, and we haven't got anybody that's like that. No one's even close to being like that. Richarlison used to do nothing for 70 minutes and then rob the ball off a defender and stick it in the back of the net, and you get a win. We've got no one like that. We're just relying on maybe a flash of something from Damari Gray. There's little.
He'd lift that crowd as well, wouldn't he, Richarlison?
Yeah.
He could lift them.
Yeah. He was brilliant at winning free kicks, wasn't he? And getting in dangerous places and, doing things for us. So to not have that, I just think people underestimated the impact he had for us last season.
Do you think the club will go into the market this window?
Yeah, I'm sure they will, but I'm not expecting.
We're hearing things like Anthony Elanga on loan.
Yeah.
Is that a solution?
No, it's not. It's not. Is it? This is the thing. They need a good to have a chance of staying up. They need a good sort of four or five players. Garner and Onana just can't pass the ball well enough. They can't create. They offer zero goal threat. Iwobi, even if he's fit, he's no goal threat. He can slide through some decent passes, but he's very little goal threat. So where do you get the goals from? Gray doesn't get enough. Gordon doesn't get enough. So they need somebody who's capable of getting goals from wide. They need someone to push Calvert-Lewin because you can't guarantee on him being fit for the rest of the season. So there's a good 4 or 5 players that we need, and there's just no sign of us getting that, and certainly not at the right quality. If they're the names getting linked, the likes of the young lad from Man United, we've recalled players from loan. We brought Ellis Sims back, and it just doesn't. I just think not only will we go down, we will comfortably go down. I don't even think the last few games of the season are going to matter. I just think we'll be gone.
Fine. Matt, you have gone into the market. You've got a new signing, a player called Mislav Orsic, who I can promise you I've never heard of before in my life. Is he going to make a difference for you?
I think he had a pretty decent World Cup by all accounts, so it'll be good to see how he progresses, but he can't be the only solution. Given the way we're playing at the moment and the setup, I don't even see how his attacking credentials are going to be utilised. We'll have to try and integrate him that way, and even then, we almost cocked that up. Apparently, we completely underbid as we usually try to, and thankfully went in with a second bid that was eventually accepted.
Got a good deal from him. Was it 8 million or so?
Yeah,
pretty cheap.
I think we went in with 5 to start with, which is silly, but. Even now, just as before we were recording, Sky were reporting there's a couple of players potentially at the training ground. They haven't said who yet, but Jones did say after the Palace game that they're expecting at least 3 or 4 more in this window.
So that could make a difference, couldn't it?
Yeah, one of them has to be a forward. There is no way we survive if we don't get anyone other than Che Adams.
Okay. Noted. Gentlemen, tough one, I know. I'm going to ask you both something different. Sean, who do you think will finish bottom of the leg?
Oh, well, I think Bournemouth will probably end up finishing bottom.
Matt?
Yeah, I'd probably say the same. It seems to be going backwards with them.
Cherry fans are going to love you. And Sean, if anybody does have any Everton players in their FPL team, bin?
Oh, yeah, sell them.
Even this weekend?
Sell them, you lunatics. Yeah. Yeah.
I presume even if suddenly you had the double against the best team in the league suddenly rocked up very soon, that'd be you wouldn't advise anyone to go into anything, would you?
No.
You can't even big up Alex Iwobi now to me.
No, he's can't. No, he's injured.
He's a blow. Although good news that it sounds like it's weeks rather than
3 weeks.
Could have been his season. People were obviously fearing the other night. Matt, there might be a few who've got Romain Perraud, Che Adams. What's the advice here?
Well, I advised anybody that messaged me and DM'd me about Perraud not to go there, and that's been proven the case. I'm one of the morons that went Che Adams, purely out of hope rather than expectation. Yeah, I've still got him.
Love your style, mate.
Yeah, tell me about it. I got an assist. Can't complain about that. But no, sell him, and he's going for me as well. It was just more of I'd love him to get a couple of goals in this run, and done fuck all.
What if suddenly the Brentford fixture got added to 21, and you knew it this week, just hypothetically, and suddenly you're looking at Everton and then a double of Villa and Brentford? Do you hold?
No.
You still sell?
Yeah.
Okay. Predictions for the weekend, please, gents. Sean, correct score prediction for you, please.
I don't know, man. I don't know. 1-0 to Everton.
Good lad. Matt?
We never win at Goodison, so 1-1.
So, Matt's brought up the stat that was leaving till the end, who many of you may remember the great Kevin Davis goal for Southampton at Goodison Park. That was, what year was it, Matt?
Well, I can't even remember, late 90s.
Yeah, I think it was 97. That is the last time that Southampton won at Goodison Park in the Premier League. I believe you have, since you got promoted in 2012, I think it's 3 points from your last 10 league visits to Goodison. So
3 draws.
The omens aren't good. What you going for, Matt?
1-1.
So all this doom and gloom, you're saying a waypoint, Matt. Sean, you're saying you're going to win. It's all right, really, isn't it?
Be our last win of the season, the way we're going.
You've both still got to play Tottenham at home. We'll help you out, lads. I'm going to go 1-0 Everton. I think everything's going to hinge for you, Sean, on how well actually you defend for the rest of this season. You're going to have to. That being said, Matt, a little bit like what I mentioned earlier, I feel like you're the more likely to just suddenly put a little run together and be all right. But it sounds like it probably needs to change with the manager. Do you think, Sean, if you get beat Saturday, is that curtains for Lampard, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think if we don't win, I think he'll be gone.
Is that, Matt, do you think that would change things for yourselves if you lose to City Wednesday in the Cup, and which you'd expect?
We haven't even talked about City, but yeah.
Well, I didn't want to make you feel worse, mate. And then you lose at Goodison as well. Do you think it could change?
Yeah, if we lose at Goodison, I think it's going to turn really badly, and they'll have to make a change.
Gents, thank you both so much. I wish you both the very best of luck. Sean, where can everyone follow your whinges on the Bird app, mate?
There's a lot of them.
They're good though, mate.
At spirits_blues.
And Matt, where can everyone follow your whinges on the Bird app, mate?
At CS_wipeout.
Super. Thanks both so much, lads. Genuinely wish you both the very best of luck. Clash of Correspondents will be back next Thursday, provisionally, with Leicester versus Brighton with Aaron Lagor and FPL Seagull. I say provisionally because shit could change at the moment, couldn't it? But just leaves me to say thank you both so much to Sean and to Matt. Good luck, gents. Cue music, please, man, Sharp.